The cover page of Black Clover Chapter 377 features Asta and Yuno dressed in white with outstretched and empowered palms. They're also surrounded by strokes of white paint that look a lot like bird feathers, so you already know that they're about to put in work against Lucius. Adramelech observed the entirety of the unfolding Clover Kingdom invasion. He was impressed by the Magic Knight's ability to take down all of Lucius's paladins. He remarked that they're better than he expected, that it's only a matter of time before the other fights result in similar outcomes. So finally, we are reminded of this devil's existence. Aside from securing Lucifero's heart, he hasn't really done much of anything besides yap with his signature slime-like speech bubbles. He hasn't even shown any abilities besides flight, which is pretty much par for the course when it comes to most devils. Even for mid-ranking devils like Nox Buddy Wagner. We see Henry use his anti-magic version of the Ultra Giant Bull to simultaneously defeat 3 Guardian Angels and a Lucius clone. Now, excuse the pun, but surely I'm not the only one that feels like these sorts of feats are a heavy load of bull. The Guardian Angels are fair game. Although they have multiple magical attributes, far more mana than even the nobility, and can easily outclass a third-class intermediate Magic Knight like Soul, at the end of the day, they are just a bunch of mindless puppets. But one-shotting Lucius is a bit extreme. It'd be one thing if these clones only hold a fraction of Lucius's power. But no, they are explicitly regarded as perfect clones that are just as powerful and capable as the real thing. As a reminder, although this arc has been dragged out for ages due to extenuating circumstances, in world, it's only been a week since Lucius had Asta on death's door. Does anti-magic really make that much of a difference? Apparently so. And with that in mind, I can totally see why Lucius wanted Asta out of the picture as soon as possible. But then again, without his attend training, Asta wouldn't have been able to share his anti-magic with others in the first place. So Lucius definitely shot himself in the foot on that one. Anyways, the same sort of thing could be seen on various parts of the battlefield. Gordon, Charlotte, and William took down a Lucius of their own. And with the help of Vanessa, Gray was able to deliver the kill shot onto another. A part of me wishes that Vanessa were a bit more of an important character to where we could see the entirety of her fight, because I think the concept of fate versus time is very fascinating. Gauche, Marie, and Rill are still battling against theirs. But the combination of countless anti-magic mirrors and Rill Twilight of Valhalla is really cool. Sekre, Charmy, Zora, and Finral are still locked into a stalemate, but they're up against 2 Lucius clones instead of just 1. Smiling now, Adramelech could only wonder if Lucius was able to see this far ahead. Interestingly enough, he doesn't seem bothered at all by this turn of events. Unlike the other high-ranking devils we've seen, he doesn't seem that interested in staking his claim on the world or anything like that. Entertainment seems to be his foremost priority. That in mind, I get the impression that Tabata may have been inspired by Ryuk from Death Note when it comes to this character. But aside from all those fights, there's one in particular that's likely to be far more noteworthy. 2 beams shot up in the air and into the heavens. And based on their positioning, it looks like Yuno has the slightest edge over Asta when it comes to speed. They both hurtled upwards, knowing what they'd need to do. Bell called out to Yuno. He complimented her on a job well done. But he's pretty sure that their Never Never Land Union Magic Zone is at its limit by now. The sheer fact that they've been able to maintain it for this long is nothing short of astonishing. It is easily one of the most busted spells in the series. And without it, there wouldn't have even been a Clover Kingdom for Asta to come back to. It's also yet another reason why, objectively, Yuno is probably a better contender for the position of Wizard King than Asta. Like it or not, Asta's big moment of saving the Clover Kingdom from the Ancient Demon has been outstripped and surpassed. Hell, even Medea Leona managed to do the same thing. On their way up, Asta called out to Yuno with something in hand. It was a dessert from Charmy. Yuno and Belle scarfed it down and were amazed by the magic recovery it provided. Even Belle, despite her rivalry with the half-dwarf over Yuno's affection, was grateful for the food. Asta smiled with anticipation. Now, all they need to do is face Lucius together and stop his world-ending spell. They both cleaved their way in and dropped down in front of the evil Wizard King. Like a gracious host, Lucius extended a greeting to his 2 guests. He considers it a shame that they're so hell-bent on opposing the world of peace he seeks to create. Asta admitted that he's not entirely sure if Lucius's world is a good thing or not, which is a bit of honesty I'm grateful for. But with that in mind, he has a question to ask. One of the people Lucius claimed to have made truly happy by turning them into a paladin regretted everything she'd done the moment she was no longer in such a state. Enraged, Asta snarled the fact that Sister Lily wept. If Lucius's intended future promises salvation, then why did a person like her go through something so painful? The madman smiled at that. He furrowed his brow and shifted the blame to Asta, that as the world's flaw, his involvement causes the suffering of others. He wondered why this was so hard for the boy to understand. Yuno was disgusted. This response only confirmed his suspicions that Lucius isn't some benevolent god who genuinely wishes for world peace. He's just a man who doesn't like it when things don't go his way. He's nothing but a self-righteous bum. The villain's smile never fell. A sort of magical heartbeat reverberated throughout the entirety of the enclosure. Lucius concluded that trying to convince them would be a meaningless endeavor. Magical power surged and was drawn from Lucius's 3 siblings. Then he began to rise. He strode towards the 2 obstacles and vowed to create an ideal world after defeating them. And this appears to be a somewhat different form of his. It's a bit less haughty than his previous getup. With that, Lucius launched a massive beam attack at the duo. But this attempt was easily repelled. Asta and Yuno charged forward, ready to cut the madman down along with his plans. Asta and Yuno raced towards their opponent, but Lucius appeared in front of Asta ahead of time with a readied fist. He shunted the fault of the world with a devastating punch, but Yuno showed up behind him in a flash. Something sprouted from the ground. A horrendously elongated spinal cord lashed out and defended the caster. Keeping his focus on Asta, Lucius raised a hand as his target leapt back. Body compression, jets of blood, bone bullets. A devastating combination of Zogratis magic made for a high-speed projectile. But Asta's speed is nothing to underestimate. He switched to Demon Slayer in a flash and redirected the bullet. But despite its size, this thing packed enough of a punch to knock Asta on his backside. Yuno splintered the bones with his massive halberd, obviously being no stranger to facing higher tier bone magic. He drove it into the ground, forcing Lucius to jump. But despite defending with a holy shield, the tyrant simultaneously attacked with several piercing tendrils of blood. To wield so many complex magical affinities at once and at such a high level without training is beyond incredible. Asta propelled off the wall and once again on the ground. Lucius shot a trifecta of bone bullets, 2 at Asta and 1 that grazed Yuno at close range. Asta deflected the projectiles, only this time he wasn't pushed back in the slightest. Lucius repelled both of their attempts to cut him down. He took stock of the 2 challengers he just bloodied, one with star and wind magic that is loved by mana and possesses limitless potential, the other being a wielder of anti-magic with the power to repel and destroy all magic. Lucius evaded Asta's blow and defended against Yuno's. He separated himself from the 2 as Asta opted to dual wield with his Demon Slasher katana, releasing an infinite slash. But the brothers weren't about to let him get away. They repeatedly collided while spiraling upwards at an increasingly swift pace. Lucius finally received a cut then. He considered the fact that their powers are total opposites that obstruct one another. Yet they still managed to be such an incredible team. They were both behind him now with their weapons over their heads. Lucius mentally corrected himself. They knocked the invader back. He realized that they're both surpassing what the other has imagined. Asta launched Demon Slayer while Yuno closed the distance. Yuno pushed Lucius back, giving Asta the opportunity to trace his sword's trajectory and re-engage himself. At this point, Lucius is totally on the defensive. They're surpassing his prophecy. Asta finally saw the opening he needed. Zeten! He carved into the arms of a wide-eyed and disbelieving Lucius. Lucius made use of his blood magic to lessen the damage and began preparing a point-blank attack from the center of his abdomen. Though he can't forget that Yuno's star magic allows him to teleport. And he did just that to introduce Lucius to the pavement, causing his antlers to shatter completely. A massive crater was formed from the impact. The pair then had a bit of a reprieve. Belle sounded her horn and congratulated her partner on his victory. Asta happily complimented Yuno on his level up, and Yuno extended the same appreciation. But just then, they noticed something. That heartbeat-like thrum is back. things have been going a little too smoothly for these guys. This is meant to be the final major fight of the series, so there is no way that it'll be that easy. We can expect revelations, desperation, and plenty of madness to come. Tabata surely did not disappoint with the choreography of this fight thus far. It's fluid, dynamic, and overall just a whole lot of fun to witness. And I'm sure it'll only get better from here. That said, Black Clover's final arc seems to be pulling heavily from the end of Naruto and the end of Bleach. This confrontation against Lucius on his throne is more than a little reminiscent of Ichigo facing Yhwach on his. Not to mention the fact that Asta fights just like Ichigo and got his own Getsuga Tensho in the form of Zaten. They even both have horns. Asta of course uses multiple different swords, like how Zangetsu went from its lumbering first form to then being like a katana, then to its dual-wielded true Shikai form. Asta and Yuno showing up behind Lucius, only to be thwarted, is just like how when Ichigo and Renji did the exact same thing to their final villain. Both big bads border on godhood and seek to create the world anew, and both have virtually inexhaustible ways to avoid death. In terms of Naruto, Lucifero looked really similar to Jubi Obito. What with the white hair, pale skin, strange wrinkles, horns, shirtlessness, and increasingly complete forms courtesy of an evil tree. He was then killed by Lucius's mysterious lackey with unclear motives, and that gave Lucius a power-up, just like how Black Zetsu was used against Obito, which empowered Madara. Naruto and Sasuke fought Madara as a duo, and Asta and Yuno are fighting Lucius as a duo. Madara's big plan was centered on a major jutsu that involved a god tree that bound people to it. Lucius's big plan is centered on a major spell that involves a tree that's already bound his siblings to it. Prior to this final fight, Lucius revived dead characters and made them clash with their loved ones, which is just like how the Edo Tensei was used to do the same thing. And before that, Asta was sent off to a remote location where he learned how to further hone his power in an incredibly short amount of time, and showed up just in the nick of time. Like how Naruto was sent away prior to the 4th Great Shinobi War and came back stronger than ever just when everyone needed him. Asta learned how to share his anti-magic with his friends, and Naruto learned how to share his Nine-Tails chakra with his friends. And this is all just off the top of my head. Black Clover has been compared to Naruto especially for pretty much the entirety of its run. Sometimes the comparison can be excessive, and other times the borrowing is excessive. And it's a shame because although a lot of these things are cool either way, they're hardly on par with the aspects they seek to emulate. The Thousand-Year Blood War is just poetry in motion. And although Naruto's final war is admittedly a bit rough around the edges in certain places, Kishimoto made something truly special that, in my book, can never be downplayed as anything short of amazing. Black Clover's final arc has a lot of the same spectacles, with none of the same weight. That doesn't mean it's not enjoyable by any means, but I would have liked to have seen Tabata bring something new to the table. Steal like an artist, don't make a replica. A lot of you guys are very vocal when it comes to this sort of thing, so I would love to know what you think about it in the comments. Apologies for being late on this one. I was really sick for a while this month, but now we're back. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.